I rented the cabin because I needed silence. Not the kind you get in an apartment at 2 a.m. Not the kind that hums with traffic outside your window. I mean real silence. The kind that presses against your ears. The listing said it was isolated. 40 minutes from the nearest town in western North Carolina. No neighbors, no cell service. Just forest. That sounded perfect to me. I'd been working remotely for months. Too many video calls, too many notifications. I wanted wood smoke, cold air, and nothing else. The first night was calm. The trees creaked in the wind. The old cabin shifted as the temperature dropped. That's normal for places like that. But sometime after midnight, I woke up to a different sound, not outside, under me. A slow, deliberate creak, like someone shifting their weight beneath the floor. And that's when I first felt it. That cold air brushing the back of my neck. Let's step into the abyss. The next morning, I tried to rationalize it. Old cabins make noise. Wood expands. Wood contracts. Temperature drops. Nails shift. That's what I told myself while I made coffee. The kitchen was small. Cast iron sink. Butcher block counters. A faint smell of dust and pine sap in the air. But when I stepped barefoot onto the kitchen floor, I noticed something strange. The boards felt colder, not just cool from the night air. Cold. Like there was no insulation underneath. I crouched down and pressed my palm flat against the wood. It was almost damp, and there was a smell I hadn't noticed before. Faint, metallic, like old pennies. I told myself it was probably the pipes. Maybe the plumbing ran under that section of the cabin. That made sense, and it had to. Still, I knocked on the floor. Just once. The sound wasn't solid. It was hollow. Not everywhere. Just in one specific stretch, between the kitchen and the hallway leading to the bedroom. I stood there longer than I want to admit, listening. Nothing. Just the refrigerator humming behind me. That night, I decided to test something. I left a chair in the center of that hollow spot, balanced carefully, so that if the floor shifted even slightly, it would tip. I remember standing in the doorway before going to bed, staring at that chair, feeling ridiculous, but also not. Around 2:17 a.m., I woke up again. No dream, no sound at first, just that same cold air on my neck. I kept my eyes closed, listening, and then I heard it. A slow drag. Wood against wood, directly under the kitchen. The chair didn't crash. It didn't fall. But I heard something else instead. A soft, rhythmic movement, like breathing, beneath the floorboards. I didn't move, not at first. When you wake up in a place like that, your brain tries to protect you. It tells you it's the wind. It tells you it's the house settling. But the wind doesn't breathe, and houses don't inhale. I stayed still in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The cabin was completely silent. No insects, no distant cars, no animals brushing against the walls. Just that slow, measured sound beneath the kitchen. In, out, in, out. It wasn't loud. It was patient. I checked my phone. 2:19 a.m. No signal, of course. The air in the bedroom felt colder than before. Thin, almost metallic. That smell was stronger now, like wet iron. I finally forced myself to sit up. The floor creaked under my weight. Sharp, immediate, normal. The sound below stopped. Instantly. Not faded. Stopped. Like it knew I was awake. That was the moment something shifted in me. Fear is one thing, being observed is another. I stepped into the hallway. Each board groaned under my feet. Slow steps. Careful. The kitchen doorway was darker than the rest of the cabin. Moonlight cut across the floor in a pale strip. The chair was still there, still upright, exactly where I left it. I took another step forward, and that's when I saw it. The chair wasn't centered anymore. It had moved, not fallen, not tipped, just rotated slightly. Facing the hallway, facing me, a slow chill crawled up the back of my neck. And beneath my feet, I felt it. A subtle vibration, like something shifting its weight. Directly under me. I didn't sleep after that. I stayed in the kitchen until sunrise. Every light on. Every cabinet open. Like that would somehow make the place feel less confined. When morning finally came, the forest looked normal again. Golden light through the trees, birds moving in the branches. A world that didn't care what I heard at 2:19 a.m. I told myself I needed proof. Something physical, something I could measure. The cabin had a small exterior crawlspace door. I hadn't noticed it before. It was on the far side of the structure, half hidden behind stacked firewood and dead leaves. The padlock on it looked old, rust creeping along the edges. But it wasn't fully latched. That metallic smell hit me the second I stepped closer. Stronger now, thicker, like damp copper. I stood there for a long time, listening. Nothing. Just wind through pine needles. I pulled the door open, slowly. The hinges groaned, long and hollow. Cold air rushed out. Not cool, cold. The kind that belongs underground. The crawl space was deeper than I expected. Not just a shallow foundation. It extended back, farther than the cabin's footprint. I crouched and shined my phone's flashlight inside. The beam cut through dust particles, wood beams, concrete blocks, dirt floor, and then something else. There were plastic storage bins, not old ones, not covered in cobwebs, clean. Stacked carefully along the far wall, I felt my pulse in my throat. Someone had been down there. Recently. I stepped inside. The ground was uneven, packed dirt. And as I moved deeper, the smell intensified. Metallic, wet. There was a section toward the back where the beams were reinforced. Extra wood supports, newer lumber, and beneath that, a rectangular cut in the dirt. About 6 feet long, 3 feet wide, covered with plywood. It wasn't nailed down. It was placed deliberately. My hands were shaking when I reached for it. The wood was cold. I lifted one corner, just enough to see underneath. Darkness at first. Then, fabric, blankets, a pillow, and a lantern, still warm. I froze, completely. That warmth hadn't come from the earth. It hadn't come from insulation. It had come from someone who had been there. Not days ago, not weeks ago, recently. And then I heard it, above me, inside the cabin. A single slow footstep, crossing the kitchen floor. The sound above me wasn't loud. It wasn't frantic. It was casual. One slow step across the kitchen floor, as if someone had just shifted their weight. I was still crouched inside the crawl space, half under the cabin, half exposed. The plywood cover slipped from my fingers and landed softly against the dirt. I didn't breathe. Another step, directly over my head. The beam above me gave a faint creak. Dust sifted down. Whoever it was, they weren't running. They weren't searching. They were walking normally, like they belonged there. A sharp metallic scent filled my nose, stronger than before. Thick, close. I slowly turned off my phone's flashlight. Darkness swallowed the crawl space instantly. The only light came from the thin cracks between the floorboards above. Slivers of pale morning light. I could see movement through them. A shadow passing, stopping, right above the reinforced beams, right above the hidden bed. Silence. Then, a slow dragging sound, wood against wood. The exact sound that woke me the first night. But now I knew what it was. It wasn't the cabin settling. It was weight, shifting across the kitchen floor, my floor. The boards above me flexed slightly. I could see dust trembling loose from the seams. And then, a new sound. 3 deliberate taps, directly above my head. Knock, knock, knock. Not random, not accidental, measured, intentional. My throat tightened. He knew. Whoever was up there knew I was below him. The air grew colder. Cold enough that my breath fogged faintly in front of me. And then I heard something that still wakes me up at night. A low, quiet exhale from the darkness beside me. Not above, not in the cabin. Down here, under the floor, with me. At first I thought it was my imagination. Panic does that. It invents things, fills silence with monsters. But this wasn't imagined. I could feel it. The breath beside me was slow, measured, close enough that the air shifted against my ear. I didn't turn my head. I couldn't. If I saw something, anything, I knew I'd lose control. Above me, the floorboards creaked again. A slow step, then another, moving away from the reinforced beams, moving toward the hallway, toward the bedroom, toward my things. The person upstairs was searching, and the thing down here with me wasn't. It stayed still, waiting. The metallic smell grew stronger, not like pipes, not like rust, like blood that had dried and been dampened again. My lungs felt tight. The crawl space seemed smaller. The dirt floor uneven under my knees. Then, very slowly, the breathing shifted. Closer. A faint scrape against the dirt. Something adjusting its position. I felt cold air brush the back of my neck. The same cold from the first night. Only now I knew where it came from. It wasn't the cabin. It wasn't insulation. It was exhalation. I reacted without thinking. I lunged forward, slamming my shoulder into the crawlspace opening, scrambling out into the daylight. The cold air followed me for a split second, then stopped at the threshold, like it couldn't cross. I didn't look back. I ran around the cabin. The front door was closed, locked. I could see through the window. No movement, no shadow, no one inside. But I heard it. A slow floorboard creak. From the kitchen. I didn't go back in. I grabbed my keys from the side table through the window crack, shattered the glass, cut my arm. Didn't care. I got in my truck and drove. Didn't stop until I reached town. I called the property owner. He sounded confused. Said the crawl space was shallow. No room for storage. No room for anyone to fit. I told him to check. He called me back 3 days later. His voice was different, quieter. He said the crawl space was normal, just dirt and beams, no bins, no plywood, no hidden space, and no sign anyone had ever been under there. But he did say one thing: there were scratch marks on the underside of the kitchen floorboards, long, parallel, like someone or something had been trying to get up from below. I still wake up some nights feeling that cold breath on my neck, and sometimes, when my house is quiet enough, I hear 3 slow knocks beneath my floor.